Hey, come on in. It's Porch, Settin Sunday. It's another day and another chance to sparkle. So keep a sparkle in your eye and a sparkle in your heart because it makes you beautiful. Hello, everybody. I wanted to come in. Let me show you the mountains. They're beautiful today, and it's very nice out. I just have like a little jacket on, real thin jacket, so it's very beautiful here today. Let me show you the mountains. I love it when it shows the different mountains and it goes down we call it a holler. But all the leaves are almost gone except for the main tops of the leaves. You all can see how far I am back on the mountain here by how little the cars are. Okay, so I wanted to come in today, and one of my friends had told me that they had a friend that lost a son recently. So I want to talk a little bit about my son, and I want to talk a little bit about how I've dealt with the loss of my son and tell everybody how my son passed away. Someone in the live last night asked me, and I didn't see that question, and it was brought to my attention. So my son was a diabetic, and he had no insurance. He was 36 years old, and he was Mama's boy. He called me every day. Sometimes he called me real late in the night, and we had a love of music together. And I almost lost all of my music because I couldn't listen to music after he passed for a long time. And I went into a deep, deep depression, and I locked myself away for 6 years. I didn't go around other people, didn't see other people. The only person I saw was a 93-year-old woman every day. I took that job so that I didn't have to deal with people. It's hard when someone comes up to you and they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss," and all that floods back on you. And it's hard to take when it first happens. Now people tell me that, that didn't know. They ask me how my children are, and they didn't know my son passed. And then they hug me and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I thank them. But when someone first loses, especially a child, because we're not supposed to bury our children. It's always been that the parents go and the children are left behind, not the children go and the parents are left behind. So to deal with that, I locked myself away. Was that the right thing to do? Probably not, but I did it. And when I was ready to come out in public again, I did. But I'll tell you what helped me. I would sit around, and I was just like in a daze. I would just sit around, and if I thought of my son, I would start crying. And my oldest daughter told me, said, "Mom, you need to do something." I had already lost all of my hobbies. I didn't want to do hobbies anymore because I worked too much. Now, when I was raising my kids and didn't have to work, I did things that I loved to do, hobbies that I loved to do, and that was to craft. I loved to craft. I redid furniture. I loved to paint furniture. I didn't sand it down and varnish and stuff. I love painted furniture, and I like to decoupage on furniture. So I had already lost all that way before my son died because I was working 3 and 4 jobs. I didn't have time to craft and do all that stuff. So I lost that, and I wish I wouldn't have. Now I'm starting to get back into it because I've got to get back into life. So to the lady that just lost her son, if you're watching, please don't do what I did. Don't get yourself in a dark place. Talk to somebody. Talk to everybody. I found that what helped me the most, if I saw a stranger and they said hello, I told them about my son. I told them what a good child he was, what a good son he was. Yeah, he had faults. He had a lot of faults, but he was good to his mama and good to his daddy. He was just good. And he always told us, because we worried about getting old, and he always told us, "Mom, Dad, I'll take care of you when you get old." So I never worried about getting old, but I do now. because, you know, girls, they go on and do their thing. A lot of people think that boys do, that they do what the wife wants to do. But my son was dedicated to us, and he was, you know, here for us. Now, you know, I just miss him so bad. And he just was so good to elderly people. I can remember things he did. He said he drove by this house one time, and I love this. When he called me to tell me about it, I cried, and I just blessed the Lord and just said that, you know, son, that is so wonderful. You listened to God. He wasn't a Christian, but God was so strong in this lady, and I prayed for him, for my children. I'm a praying mama. And so he seen this lady, and she was very elderly, and he had drove by her house, and she was standing in her doorway just looking out, and it was a really bad snow had happened. It was over with, but her driveway was like almost a little over a foot of snow in the driveway, and she was just standing there praying, Lord, send somebody, please send somebody to shovel my driveway, get my car out. I've got a doctor's appointment. I need to get to that doctor's appointment. I need to go to the grocery store. So she was praying for God to send her someone. My son went by, and he got on up the road, and he said, Mom, something told me I needed to go back and shovel that lady's driveway. And that's when I knew that God had spoke to him and told him, this lady needs help, and you're the one that's going to do it. Because, you know, God will use sinners for Christians, and God will use, he will use rich people to bless poor people. And he puts it on them so strong that they can't refuse. So I was so proud of my son, and there was other things that he did. He did not stand by and allow anyone to abuse a child. If he was out in public and he seen someone abusing a child, they was going to have a bad day. Same thing with elderly people. If he was out in public and he seen someone yelling at an elderly person, the person that was doing the yelling was going to have a bad day. My son did not allow it. I taught my children, you respect your elders and you don't allow anyone to abuse children. So, to that lady that just lost her son, I am so sorry that you did, but he would want you to pick up, get on with life, tell people about him, keep his memory alive. Tell everybody that you can tell, even a stranger. If you come on a stranger and they say hello, say, you know what, let me tell you about my son. And then you begin to tell them about your son dying, and tell them how special he was. Tell them things he did. And just be proud of it. And it doesn't matter what he died from, because it just doesn't matter. But you tell everybody about your child. Everybody that'll listen, and if you have to cry while you're telling them, you boo-hoo and sling snot and do whatever you need to do, and you tell everybody every day, even if you have to stand in the mirror and say, son, because I've done it, son, why did you leave me? And cry and cry and cry till you can't cry no more, and then keep telling people about your child. But anyway, my son was a diabetic. He didn't have insurance, so he got pancreatitis. And he went, the protocol for pancreatitis, because I worked in the hospital at that time, the protocol is 14 days MPO, which means nothing by mouth. You can't eat nothing for 14 days, not even drink anything. The only thing you can have is IV fluids and IV antibiotics for 14 days. That's the only way to cure pancreatitis. Pancreatitis is where the pancreas swells. And it swells so big that it eventually tears up. So you have to, you have to have that medication, like that 14-day protocol. I'm looking at a truck that's going up through there, wondering what in the world a utility truck is out on the weekend for. But anyway, so he had no insurance. They the hospital I worked at was a for-profit hospital. And people doesn't know this, but that hospital is not obligated to treat you. If they let it be known that they are a for-profit only hospital, then they're not obligated to keep you and treat you. So they put my son, because he was bad, they put him in the hospital overnight when it first flared up, and then gave him pain medication, a prescription for pain medication. Of course, he couldn't get it filled, so he just stayed in pain. But then it got bad again. It flared up a month later again, even worse, because he wasn't treated right. He went to that hospital again. They kept him in the emergency room overnight. The nurse that admitted him came in the next morning and looked at him and said, he is worse. Why is he in this room still? Well, the nurse that he had was a young nurse, and I know her name and everything, and she didn't want to have to fool with him. So she admitted that she hid so that she didn't have to fool with my son, because he was in so much pain. He was just crying and yelling. And because he had tattoos, and because he had earrings in his ears, she thought he was there for drugs. So you don't never, ever assume that people are on drugs. You don't never assume that people are something that they're not. God loves everybody, and we're supposed to love everybody. If everybody would not be so judgmental and just do their jobs, my son would still be alive. But because that nurse, because you know, when doctors are in the emergency room or anywhere, they're only as good as their nurse, because that nurse is the one that goes to the doctor and says, Doc, my patient is worse. Doc, my patient's not doing well. You need to get in there now. Well, he had a heart attack laying there that night because he didn't have pain control or anything. So he was in so much pain that he had a heart attack. Well, by the time they got him transferred to a big hospital, his pancreas had swelled so big that I could stand at the foot of his bed, and his stomach was so swollen from his pancreas that I could not see his face. They had to split him from his sternum to almost his pubic bone to let that out, because they told me that it was like a fat man with a real tight belt. And the belt kept tightening and tightening and tightening because the pancreas kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, it ended up killing him because they got him there too late. Had they transferred him out, had that nurse done her job, and they transferred him out earlier, he might have made it. The last thing he said to us before he died is, Dad, what happened? What happened to me? And then he was out again. He was unconscious again. So it's been 11 years since my son passed. I miss him every day, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer today. It's a beautiful day, but I'm just saying, cry if you need to cry. Tell everybody, everybody. If you have to get on, when you watch a video, tell that person, I lost my son. I'd like to tell you about him. Do that. I did that. I started making videos and I started telling everybody about my child. And I'm not apologizing for crying. I'm crying. I loved my son. I miss my son. And I'm telling you about my son. So get out there and tell everybody about your child. Tell them how wonderful he was. Even if he did things that he wasn't supposed to do, he's still your child and a wonderful child. And I'm sure you have memories of him when he was little, things he did. just talk about that. Talk about how wonderful he was. The wonderful things that he did. If you need to talk to me, my email is down below. You shoot me an email and we'll talk. You can cry on me and I'll cry right with you, and we'll just talk about our children all we want. So be blessed today, and just cry if you have to. If you have to look at his picture and tell him, son, I love you and I miss you and why did you leave me? I do that. I have a picture of my son, and sometimes when I'm dusting, I pick that picture up and I look at it and I kiss his face and I say, son, you shouldn't have left me. So do that. Do anything that you think that makes you get through this, and you will get through it. You'll never be the same again, but you will get through this tragedy in your life. Your personality would change, because mine did. You will be a different person, and people will see that difference in you, and that's okay. That's okay. You've been through a very, very traumatic tragedy. So just talk about him. Tell everybody about him. You're going to go through anger. You're going to go through sadness. You'll go through so many different things. You know, that you're going to go through depression. Try to fight that depression. If you have, I think, my friend told me you had a YouTube channel. Start making videos and talking about your child and telling people about him. And believe me, people will gather around you and give you so much love, because the YouTube community that I'm friends with, that I belong to, all of them has given me so much love and comfort and friendship, and it just helps you. I'm telling you, throw yourself into something you love, even if you don't want to. Get into it and just go with what you want to do. If you need to act crazy, act crazy. Whatever you need to do to get through. And you'll, like I said, you'll never be the same. And it's been 11 years for me, and I still cry. Not every day like I did. And I fight depression every day. There's days that I don't get out of bed. Still. But I've been fighting to get myself out of the bed, get back into life, and enjoy my life, because that's what my son would want. And I tell myself that because just before he died, he had went and bought, come here baby, let me get my baby. Just before he passed away, he had went and bought all of his bicycles, me and his dad, and him and his wife. And he had went and bought a tent and camping stuff and all that. And he said, we're going to start going in the summer camping. So that summer, we had planned on going camping. It never happened. He would want me to live life. He knows how active I used to be. I had went in, you know, my house used to be so spotless you could eat on the floors. And people would just talk about how beautiful my home was and how clean. Not so much anymore. My husband says I became a hoarder, and my house didn't get hoarded, just my bedroom. It was like I wanted to keep everything that anybody had ever given me, because I had that fear that they were going to die and leave me, and that's all I would have left of them. But I've learned that things break, things get lost, but I always have that memory in my heart, and I never will lose that. So that is what the message I wanted to talk about today. I'm sorry I didn't tell a story, but I think this is real important. We need to gather around and love one another and be kind to one another. Go out every day. You never know what someone's been through. And if you're out and about and you see a lady that has a nice haircut, or she has a blouse on you like, go up to her, touch her, and say, hey, I love that blouse you have on. You look so pretty in it. you might have made her day. I mean, anybody. I don't care if it's a stranger and you don't know them. I love to do that. And people just smile and you brighten their day. Be kind. Go out and be kind. Let's make 2020 the year of kindness. All of us. Let's make sure that we do something at least once a week that's kind for another person. Let's start a movement and make a kindness part of our movement. So I don't want to end on a sad note. I just wanted to talk about that, and I think it's very important. So I love you guys, and don't forget, follow me on all of my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Snapchat, you can snap me and I'll snap you back. My grandkids will help me learn how to snap because they're trying to teach me a lot. I've learned a lot of stuff from a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. Can you believe that? But I think they're going to teach me how to edit. My 10-year-old says he knows how, so I'm going to see. But I love you guys so, so much. Thank you all for watching, coming by the porch. Hope you got your coffee. Today is a coffee day or a hot chocolate day. It's not really cold and it's not really hot, but it's just a good hot chocolate day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was kind of a downer, but that's okay. We have our good days and our bad days. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. We're going to do lives from now on. I'm probably going to do a live tomorrow. I look forward to it. It's much more fun than just doing a video. I love you guys. Don't forget, at the end of every storm is a beautiful rainbow. You're my rainbow. Bye. Oh, let me show you Diva. Look at Diva. She's my baby. Aren't you, baby girl? I love you guys. Bye.